Directed by Gareth Edwards, the visual genius behind Monsters and Godzilla, Rogue One has earned over $1 billion at the worldwide box office and has, unsurprisingly, been nominated for an Oscar in visual effects. Edwards worked with the team at Industrial Light and Magic to recreate that galaxy far, far away. And as we found out when we visited their London office, they provided some very cool kit to help facilitate his unique directing style.
So he's a very hands-on filmmaker. He likes to walk around his sets and sort of physically pick up the cameras himself and walk around and sort of find interesting angles that might not have occurred to him when he was sort of planning out the shoots, like in pre-production. Our visual effects supervisor, John Knoll, was really keen that he be able to sort of apply that same style of filming to the synthetic cameras. So we used like a real-time virtual reality system, and therefore he can sort of show us rather than try and explain to us.
And this is it.
And this is it. This is what we call our VCam renderer.
Can I just point out, it's an iPad with a Vive controller stuck on the back. So you're using existing technology.
Exactly, and we can sort of set it up relatively easily, relatively quickly.
And is this where he did these scenes in this room?
This is where he shot his virtual camera work. So this is a scene that was actually set up for a trailer, for the first trailer that we did for Rogue One.
You would have this scene running and he would just walk around and decide on his best angles, and then after that you would tidy up the take that he wanted. The
idea wasn't that he would be getting perfectly smooth, composed, final camera moves, but he was able to sort of show to us, beginning of the shot, I want it here, end of the shot, I want it here. We could then just publish this through our pipeline software, and then it could be immediately picked up by animators and lighting TDs. We shot this with Gareth in London. We then pushed it into our pipeline. It was then picked up by people in San Francisco, and a take was ready for him to review the next morning.
May I have a go?
Absolutely. So So the animation in this scene is the dish of the Death Star.
Right.
First going in.
Look, we can see behind the dish. So I can get a different shot to Gareth if I wanted. If I find a better shot, do I get a job? Waiting for an answer. Look at that. It's the dish going to the Death Star.
So here we're following an X-Wing as it makes its approach run towards the shield gate. And we could just sort of move around and frame up on the camera moves and follow the ship in, or move in front of the ship. And
this film is set mere minutes before the very first film, and so getting these computer-generated models to look exactly like the physical models from 1977 was, I guess, vital, wasn't it?
Our friends and colleagues in sort of San Francisco took digital scans of the original models from the art department and lots of texture reference, and faithfully just recreated them so that there wouldn't be any sort of jarring differences between these ships and the ships in A New Hope. So in this scene we can sort of look around, and if I sort of point over here you can see the Rebel fleet sort of appearing out of hyperspace, and I can look down and we can see the shield gate and we can track the approach. And this is what Gareth was, how Gareth was filming everything, just moving around and finding interesting framing, finding interesting angles, seeing what works, seeing what looked nice, and being able to do it on the viewfinder here as though it was a real camera. We have teams of people who are responsible for sort of laying out camera moves. We have teams of people who are building digital models, texturing digital models. We've got a fantastic team of animators, and then we've got a great team of compositors who take all of the renders that we generate and put it all together with all the footage and integrate it into hopefully a sort of photorealistic result.
So this model here of Jeddah, is that completely full detail so you could move the camera to anywhere.
We had a camera that rotated around on its own axis, and we moved that randomly just around the city, and we rendered off just hundreds of views. So many of them were just fascinating in what they ended up finding. Because I think typically if you are given a shot to lay out, you will start dressing everything to the camera, so you'll start laying out buildings that stack away from the camera.
Mm-hmm.
And typically with lighting, you would start with backlighting at three quarters from one direction. But what we found was that because none of those considerations had been taken, you just end up with occasionally finding views that are just so natural. So the lighting might just be illuminating one half of a wall in the background, for example, or none of the roads are perpendicular to the camera and they're all going off at weird angles. So that was really successful, and we ended up using a lot of those views as the background in a lot of our blue screen shoots.
How much of that was based on real mushroom cloud?
A lot, actually. So we did spend a lot of time watching old footage of nuclear explosions, which is kind of terrifying when you're watching them over and over again in dailies, but they really informs the look of the sequence. But I think it's really interesting when you have this really open working relationship where you can just put forward ideas like this and you can look at them. So really interesting things come in the shots.
You're rebels, aren't you?
Save the rebellion! Save the dream!